you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Amazing.
I tell you what, and we're going to get into a lot of things going on with Hefe Trump, okay? But he doesn't make me laugh. I mean, there is one thing. Like I've always said that if somebody makes me laugh, I kind of like them. Even people who I really don't like politically and otherwise, that makes me laugh. I mean, see, to me, if there's one thing, and there's plenty to pick on with Donald Trump, but if there's one thing that really you could see the stark difference between him and, let's say, the crazy left and the media and everything else, is the guy still has a sense of humor.
Oh, dude.
Because they don't have a sense of humor. They have zero sense of humor.
He's such a character, dude.
What's that?
He's such a character.
No, he is. And I don't know, but to be honest with you, and welcome everyone to the front line with Joe and Joe Pasillo and Joe Resinello. We're gonna go way in the breach today. You're really gonna get a lot of information today. You got Epstein and the fight over that and the files. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene. Joe, you're gonna have to help me with that one because I looked at everything going on. I went like this. I went, can somebody explain to me what's going on? Because I don't quite get it. The Democrats are fomenting insurrection and sedition, and they're doing it in a sneaky way. And we're going to talk about that disgraziad senator that I have here, okay, in Arizona, Mark Kelly, and a bunch of other senators and members of the House, ex-military and ex-intelligence, are saying that you should. The military and the intelligence officers should disobey illegal orders. They really don't bother to tell you what those illegal orders are, but we got to get into that too, because guess what you can't do? It's sedition to undermine the authority of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And the Constitution says that the president of the United States is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And I'm sorry, that's a big deal. We're going to spend some time on that. Okay, you got AI, Elon Musk talking about we're not even going to have to work anymore, Joe, in the future. So anyway, we're going to play clips for all you guys from everything here at the front line with Joe and Joe. How was your week, Joe? I mean, I looked at all the clips you sent me, and I was like, wow, Joe really dug deep and found a lot of stuff.
Lots going on. Obviously you look at X a little bit every day and kind of just see what's happening. I mean, the world's moving fast. People have to pay attention, to be truthful with you, because I think the stakes are very high. I also think, to be honest, a lot of the writing is on the wall. It comes down to what you have said many, many times. It's about political will. It's also about looking at things as they are. Joe, prices are very high. Perfect example. I have to paint my house inside the interior. I bought 8 gallons of paint yesterday from Lowe's, $514
for paint.
8. It's high quality paint because it's gloss, because the kids and whatnot. $514 for 8 gallons of paint.
And even if it was 40% less, even if it was $300 for 8 gallons of paint, it's still a lot. It's too much.
I'm just saying, this is the reality. I mean, and that's not going away. And this is not like luxury items. It's not like I went out and bought $500 worth of caviar or $500 worth of high-end vodka. This is paint for the kitchen, the living room, the hall. I mean, this is basic stuff.
Bills.
Life is becoming untenable for people. I know that's how it's been in Canada, but that's how it is in America right now for regular people. And I'll be truthful with you. And obviously, whoever is going to be running against Trump, or when Trump's people run, they're all going to be clamoring for that space. I don't think it matters who the president is, because our debt is too high. The debt. We sold the country out as a result of Iraq, as a result of Afghanistan, which we got nothing out of, as a result of shutting the country down with COVID. We sold the country down the river. Yeah. That is not just going to be recovered. It doesn't matter who the president is.
But I'm going to push back a little bit because we're going to play a couple clips here at the front line with Joe and Joe as we move along those lines. But here's the thing, and we'll play it later. We won't get into it now. But tackling that problem, because we're going to play a clip from Nick Fuentes vis-a-vis Jeffrey Epstein, but he does touch on this a little bit. And later on, we're going to talk about Ron DeSantis. The fact is that Ron DeSantis has, in effect, cut Florida's debt in half. Now, again, people say, well, it's less amount of money. Okay, but the fact is, and what it proves, is if you have the political will, you could make something happen, like reducing the size of government, like reducing the amount of debt you could have. That's why a lot of people are moving to Florida. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to have to make a decision when my son graduates high school. If this state, Arizona, is actually a purplish to bluish state or leaning in that direction, I ain't staying here. I'm going to do the same thing I did when I left New Jersey. Why do I have to stay here if they're going to jack up taxes and debt and everything else? That's a different story. But you're right. But let's get into Trump's, again, his sense of humor aside with Mamdani is, Trump is really not doing the things he said he was going to do. He really isn't. We're going to talk about that. We're going to play Thomas Massie, then we're going to play Nick Fuentes, and then we're going to come back and we're going to hash it out a little bit.
It's that simple.
Why do you think he is working so hard not to get them released for so many months? What do you think the real reason is?
These files implicate billionaires and friends of his and political donors that he's trying to protect. And Epstein also had close ties to our own intelligence agencies and Israel's intelligence agencies. That's why there's so much effort in trying to stop this. And I do believe they'll try to stop it somewhere else. And that's going to backfire on them too.
So the president.
And Mike Johnson says we cannot release all the files pertaining to this situation because it might permanently damage the political system. Why? Because it might undermine its legitimacy and credibility. If we found out that the government was being controlled using blackmail and bribery, because it would undermine confidence in our government, in our democracy. If we learned that our civilian elected leaders were not answering to the will of the people, but were actually being controlled by foreign governments, intel agencies, that our tax money, that our government, our military, our regulations are actually under the control of shadowy forces that are engaged in sexual trafficking and blackmail, working for God only knows who. Why would we want to maintain a political order based on that? That's sort of the whole point. We want this to destroy the political system. Were we not clear about that? That's the whole point. That's the whole point, by the way, of the Trump movement. The political system is not working for the people. The political system is not answerable or accountable to the people because the
Let's leave it there because I think that we got enough of a flavor as to what's going on. Let's start with Massie, okay? Or we could tie them together, however you want to go, Joe, but I'll start with Massie, okay? He first of all is being attacked, has been attacked by Trump. We're going to talk about MTG in a little bit. She's attacked by Trump. In other words, Trump is not responding to the people who put him in office. And I'm going to just be very quick, and then I'm going to throw it over to you. I voted for him because I thought he was responsive to people like us. And what he does and what he has done out of his own mouth is he's looking down at people like us now. He's doing what the Democrats do. He got our vote, and now he's kicking our asses to the side and saying, well, I'm going to do what I want to do. You're not there to do what you want to do. You got into office to do what we want you to do. That's why I'm going to say I'm going to say a million more times, MAGA and this America First movement, let's call it the America First movement, transcends Donald Trump, and it's going to develop after Trump is gone to something that's going to be better, I think, okay? But Trump needs to come down a little bit, and he needs to stop attacking people who actually do care about me. Yes, I don't care how this sounds to all the softies out there. Nick Fuentes gives a crap about my life. I believe that about him. Thomas Massie cares about my life. Rand Paul cares about my life. I'm getting the feeling that Donald Trump he's kind of playing into the criticism he gets from those who would attack him from the left. Donald Trump seems to care about himself because he dropped every single thing that he started, like Doge and other things. After having gotten office, he scrapped it all. Where does that leave you and me? That leaves you buying 8 gallons of paint for $500.
Here's the deal. I think Massey nails it right on the head. It's because of donors. And here's another the deal. This was in Joe Biden's hands too. Trump was not on the list because Joe Biden had the list. And logic would have it, if Trump was on the list and did something wrong, Joe Biden would have destroyed him with it. He couldn't. So that people should just get that out of their head. It's the donors. Nick Fuentes diagnoses the problem completely. And this is, I've been saying this for a long time. The country does not account for the people's needs. Why? Because it accounts for the people who fund the machine. And here's the deal. Trump understands that. Trump's done a lot for America and the people. It more than any president in my lifetime. But here's the deal. It's not enough because the system isn't geared for it to be enough. It doesn't work for us because that is reality, people. Barack Obama, same deal. Like, here's another thing. If AOC was to become the president, the same deal. You have to be accountable. That's why people give you money. And that's what has to end. And what Nick Fuentes says perfectly, that's why people elected him. We should have saw that from the beginning when he started, to be honest with you, some of the people that he basically gave a nod to be in his cabinet. That was the first hint. If you looked even further, some of the people who gave him money, that's the next hint. Large sums of money, $100 million donations. You don't give $100 million because you like somebody. You expect something. That's just the way it is. This is how the country is structured. That's how our government is structured. And we expected the people who voted for him, because this is the way he kind of sold it, I'm going to break the back of that system. Well, Donald Trump realizes that he could only go so far. And he stopped short of that, pushing it to that degree. That's where the disappointment comes in. I did not vote for him to stop. I voted him to break the back of the institutional democracy. And Mike Johnson kind of uses those words. It's going to threaten our democracy. What specific democracy are you talking about, Mike?
Right.
It doesn't work for us. I just spent $500 on paint. It doesn't work for the regular person anymore. It simply doesn't. To tell yourself that it does is a delusion. College is ridiculously overpriced. Houses cannot be afforded by the middle class anymore. Soon the upper middle class will not be afforded to buy houses. The next generation. That's how it is in Europe. That's how it is in Canada right now. And we're following suit. It doesn't work. Why do these prices go against us? Because of the money that's getting poured in, because of the bad decisions, because of the money that's being poured in. This is how the system works. It's off the rails. It has to be railed in. And frankly, Joe, unless we break the back of that system, the result of it is you're going to get a people who are radicalized, and they're going to vote somebody in, whether it's to the right, which you will get Mussolini, or it will be to the left, you will get Stalin, and they will rule like tyrants. That's the end game here, if people don't cut it short.
Well, but this is where Nick Fuentes is right. Is like, you mentioned Trump bringing in a cabinet, okay? So Trump brings in a cabinet of people that he's told to bring in. Let's be real. Bessent, Lutnick, okay? These guys are, well, President Trump, you really need to bring these guys in. What they do is they look at the system. They say, okay, we know there's a few issues, but we're going to work within the system to try to correct the system. Wrong answer.
That's not what I voted for.
Wrong answer. I voted for you to wreck the system.
That's right.
Now,
That's it. You hit it right on the head.
Does that mean that we're in favor of national suicide? No. But there are means by which and things you could do slowly but surely, maybe not even so slowly, to start taking out the pillars of this corrupt system one by one. So you alleviate the pressure that's going to be brought in the economy overall, okay? I don't know what you would call it a soft landing or whatever, but the fact is There's going to be pain. There's going to be some tightening of the belt and everything else. But if you embark on this journey of tearing down this corrupt system, you will get from point A to point B, which is where you want to be. But the system, like Nick Fuente says, has to change. Getting back to Thomas Massie, that means donors got to go. We have to have public funding of elections.
Joe, that's
You
fundamental.
can't get bought if there's nothing to buy.
Joe, that is step one fundamental. And I actually think that would take a revolution, because there's not a Democrat or a Republican that would support that, because that's how they get everything done, as far as that's how they get elected. They're not interested in the voice of the people. They aren't. Notice, and we're going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's the same thing with Matt Gaetz. It's the same thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene. They were true to the position. Notice there was no room for either of them.
Right.
There's no room for them. And why is Massie who he is? Because he's in a district that he can't lose. He has the luxury of basically saying, I could say and do whatever I want. I'm still going to get voted in. You see, most people don't have that luxury. So they have to toe the line, because then they won't get any campaign support, financial support to run. And just like anything on the internet, if you don't have a platform, you don't have a show. It's the same thing with that. That goes for Bernie Sanders. That goes for Barack Obama. That goes for AOC. That goes for Ted Cruz. That goes for Mitch McConnell. It doesn't matter, Democrat or Republican. That's how the system's structured.
And by the way, just to throw it out there to you, people would say, well, you just want to stop like these globalists from giving money. I'm saying no money in elections. That means you and I are pro-life. We give of the money that we make, a portion of that to the pro-life movement. Maybe not Pro-Life Inc., but Sisters of Life and others, okay? We contribute to them for them to promote their mission. Guess what? That means when the politician comes to me, I'm pro-life, give me money. Can't do it, pal. Don't worry about it. We're still going to fight the abortion fight. We're still going to do all those things. I don't have to give you my money so that you get elected. Because if I act in my interest, say, well, I want to give you money, but I don't have a right to prevent somebody else from giving you money. And that's where the problems come in. Because, Joe, let's face it, the donors have a lot more money than you and me.
Oh,
okay. And so they'll say, yeah, but you get your interest looked after too. That's a whole other conversation. The pro-life movement in America has been stabbed in the back a million times.
Joe, but here's another thing. I don't even want that interest.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
That's what
zero. That goes for the NRA. That goes for the teachers union. That goes for the Teamsters. It should be $100 cap on every like Social Security number / corporate tax ID. You can give, say, JP Morgan, you get to give $100. Joe Resinello, you get to give $100, and you're capped every year. That's it. It levels the playing field. It makes the country a voice of one vote, one person. That's what we're sold, but that's not what we get. And that's why we get something that's not in our interest. Think about it. What did we get, Americans, out of the Iraqi and Afghanistan war? How much did that cost? What did we just get out of all the money that we funneled into the Ukraine? What did we get out of it? Look at what's going on in our country. People can't afford healthcare, Joe. If you just took those 3 conflicts and you pooled that money together, we could have honestly helped people afford healthcare, some segments of the population. Isn't that what it's all about? Like when you're prioritizing something in your own house, before I worry about my neighbor, I have to take care of my own family. That's just common sense. And if you didn't do that, you're not basically a responsible person. Well, that's what we're doing. And why are we doing that? One would say it doesn't make sense. No, it does make sense, because the donors are the number one priority. That's their priority. Why is Iraq a priority? Well, it was a priority to Israel to get rid of a threat. It's a priority to the military-industrial complex to keep making weapons. You funnel money in, you funnel money out. People get rich off that.
Right.
Meanwhile, there's a guy that works 60 hours a week a full-time job as, say, a driver of FedEx and 20 hours at 7-Eleven. He works 60 hours a week. He has crappy benefits. His family can't eat properly because you can't buy food properly working, like making, say, $60,000 a year for, say, a family of 5 in America. Meanwhile, we're pouring money outside the country. That's a smack in the face of every person who's paying attention. Let me first say you have to be paying attention. We shouldn't take that. We simply shouldn't.
Joe, I agree with you 1,000%. And that's the problem is that when you look at, let's say, all the people that give money, none of them are actually giving money for anything involving Americans' interest, the interest of everyday
Zero.
Americans. It's always some sort of, now again, people say, well, it's Israel. It goes beyond just Israel. Israel's
They're a
big part
piece of
that.
it, but it's much broader
Much
than that.
bigger than that. Much
But
bigger
they
than
are a
that.
piece of it. Joe, here's the deal. I could define Israel very simple. I will give money to Israel happily if it's in our interest too, because we have to have the interest as well as them. If it's in America's interest as well as their interest, I'll give you aid.
Right.
But if it's not, I can't. And if we're going to continue down this road, then you should become the 51st state of America. If
Well,
we're going to
listen.
fund your whole entire economy, your military, everything else, then you have to then be absorbed into the United States. If you're not cool with that and you're free not to be, then you have to stand on your own 2 feet just like everybody else does.
Listen, Marco Rubio, God bless him. He's been the shining star of this administration. He's been better than I've ever seen him in my life.
I'll buy that. I still
in
don't
his
want him
time
to be
as
the
Senate.
president, though.
I'm not saying I do, but he made that point to the Senate and to the leftists, idiots that they are, in a hearing, a Senate hearing, and he said, what I liked about it was that he was being very, very matter of fact. He was just like, he goes, foreign aid is not a gift. We give foreign aid because it's in our interest.
That makes perfect sense.
And he
that's
says,
not
what
being
is the
anything
interest?
but that's perfect sense.
Right. And he says, how does it benefit the American people to spend X amount of dollars on gender studies in Mozambique? I mean,
But
now
it even
that's a
goes
question that
further
should
than
cut
that,
across
because
politics.
we give money. Why did we give all that money to the Ukraine? That was for to be honest with you, that was to basically move the line for NATO.
Yeah.
And that we have a story about that some of the people in Europe are basically funding organizations that are working against America. They don't share our values anymore, Europe.
Right.
They simply don't.
Right.
You can't speak freely in some countries in Europe. That's not a shared value. We should get out of NATO. Have a good day, guys, because again, if you don't share our values, you don't get our tax dollars. And it has, like I said, Israel's a piece of it. But it's much broader than that. I'm not giving money to the Ukraine. I'm not giving money to the NRA. When people in this country can't have health care, they can't afford basics.
Right.
Basics. The interior of our country is rotted out. Drive into the interior of America. When I drive to Ohio in the summer, I'll stop at like a Cracker Barrel in Western Pennsylvania. Dude, you go into one of those type of places and you actually see how some of the people even just look. You're like, wow, these people are poor.
Yeah.
And that's sad. And now we're going to give money to the Ukraine. We're going to give money to Israel. We're going to give money to basically special interests that don't serve that person in Western Pennsylvania or in Ohio.
Have to explain,
no, sorry.
You have to explain, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to explain how that $350 billion you just sent to the Ukraine benefits that worker at Cracker Barrel in Western Pennsylvania.
And they don't care. But then they sell that person a bill of goods and throw propaganda at them, like MAGA, the whole thing. And frankly, that person's still in the same situation that they're in, spending $500 on 8 gallons of paint, because paint costs the same there as it does in New Jersey.
That's right.
And this is my point. Like,
right?
like
And, that,
we have to just wake up to the fact that this is not a radical idea either, people. I'm not speaking like a radical person. Maybe some people might think so because they just don't want to hear what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is the country does not work for regular people.
that's
And
what
the
Nick
people that
Fuentes was
run
saying.
it, by the way, know it.
Oh
They-
no! Listen, we know that they absolutely know it. But this is why we have to keep emphasizing. Thank you for joining us here Sunday morning at the front line with Joe and Joe. We'll be going on Sundays from now on. Due to my schedule, it's my fault. But Sunday's a good day to have a conversation with my brother and all of you guys out there. But that's gotta be the driving force. Again, people might think that I'm picking on Trump. I'm not picking on him, but I feel deflated because coming in with a lot of goodwill and the people behind him and Elon Musk, and he's going to get in there with big balls and all those guys, and they're going to find out what they found it. They started to find that where a lot of this money was going. That's why Rubio was able to point these things out in the Senate hearing, because it was found as a result of Doge. And then Trump gives it up. He stops pressing.
That was just
We get
red
the
meat.
big, disastrous, ugly son of a gun bill, okay? That is, like you've said a million times, Barack Obama could have put his signature on that bill, all right? Or Bill Clinton or Joe Biden or George Bush. Mitt Romney would have. Donald Trump didn't do anything great with the big, beautiful bill. Extending tax cuts. I didn't want an extension of the tax cut. I wanted an abolition of the personal income tax for everybody, every individual making below $100,000 a year. I thought that's what we were going to get. I thought we were going to get paying down the debt. We're going to talk about DeSantis, how he's able to do it in Florida. Which the thing is, and then Trump gets mad at people like Massey, okay, and like MTG.
The situation between President Trump and MTG is very, very dangerous. It's not just isolated to Trump being mad at her for her disagreeing with him on some issues. It goes back to Elon Musk being driven out of the administration and Doge getting partially derailed. All the polls, all the numbers showed that killed that massive wave coming in. Trump had the highest approval rating he's ever had. People loved it. Now he's figured out that was wrong. He's bringing Musk back and has given him the head of NASA and the rest of it. But we need Musk completely back. We have to have a big tent in our populist, conservative, nationalist, common sense coalition. We don't need to be at war with Thomas Massey or MTG or any of these people or Senator Rand Paul. Yes, they vote their conscience like Ron Paul did. Ron Paul really built, along with myself and many others, the modern launch pad that Trump came in on. I agree with 95% of what Trump does. But when I criticize him on issues I think are wrong, like saying Epstein's a hoax, no, you being involved is a hoax, now you say, oh no, the Democrats are involved, investigate them. Damn right. So when I saw Trump wrong on that, I said, that's wrong. Oh, my constituents aren't my constituents. If you think Epstein thing is real, you're not MAGA. He lost like 6, 7, 8 points, according to all the top pollsters that I trust, have been deadly accurate, like Mark Mitchell over at Rasmussen off that. And he kind of built it back, and now he's doing it again. I need Trump to succeed. If you actually watch MTG in these interviews, she says she loves Trump and he's the best, and she agrees with almost everything he's doing except this, and that, because she's got constituents and she's allowed to have her views, and we're not in a cult. Instead, he said really mean things about her, and now people are trying to say, choose a side, choose a side. This is hurting Trump, it's hurting America, it's hurting MAGA, and
Let's leave it there. Alex Jones is absolutely right.
Hits it right on the
Because
head.
what you have, when you have something that's good, whatever it might be, and there's a lot of people involved in keeping that thing good and noble. I think the idea, like Nick Fuentes said, of wrecking this political system, of tearing it down and building a new one, I think that it is a good and noble cause because it'll benefit him and us and the girl in the Cracker Barrel in Western Pennsylvania. It benefits us. It's a good and noble thing. But if you're involved in that, there will be leaders. There always has to be spokespeople and leaders that lead the movement. But once you think you're more important than the movement itself, that's where the problem comes in. And this is my criticism of Trump. And I'm with Alex Jones on that. There's many things that Donald Trump has done that I agree with. But the fact is he can't start attacking people in a vicious way because they say, Mr. President, I disagree with you. And he has attacked her in a very, very vicious way. It's uncalled for, and I don't want him to do that. Even if I don't agree with MTG on that particular issue, whatever it might be, I don't want him attacking somebody in the movement in the way that he does. That shows me he thinks the movement is about him rather than the
I think he
itself.
just understands how the sausage is made. And those people are speaking in a position where they're not feeling the pressure he's feeling. Because again, it goes back to what Fuente said. The system doesn't work. Just like Mike Johnson said, we're going to threaten the system. The system should be threatened. The system needs to be wrecked and built up from how it was meant to be from the founders, a country of the people, by the people, for the people. You see, he feels the pressure and he's pushing back against people who are basically putting a wrench in the machine, because he's trying to basically mitigate some of the noise and problems that he has to deal with to keep the ball rolling. Because he understands now, I believe, how things really, really work. This is his second time around. That's not what's articulated, though. The pushback doesn't show what he's feeling. The machine itself. That's why Congress's ratings are always below 30, Joe, no matter who the president is. Congress is not accountable. It's supposed to be the House of the people. It's not. That's what has to change, people. Even if you're listening to this and you say agree with the far left, I'm going to tell you this right now. You're not going to get your way either. You're going to be deeply disappointed. Case in point, Bernie Sanders got pushed to the curb when Hillary Clinton basically was in the game. They were just like, no, Bernie, we're not letting you do that. It doesn't work that way. I'm going to give you another case in point. Mamdani in New York. They're not going to let him do what he says he wanted to do. There is no, now he's going to do some things, just like Trump has done some things. He'll throw some red meat to his people, but they're not going to let, they already said, the governor said, you're not having the buses be free. The governor already said that. This is my point. The power brokers that really run the country, even if you're a far leftist and you want crazy communism full on, they're not letting you do that. And if you're on the far right, the fringe, you live in Idaho and you live on a compound, you're a crazy person, they're not letting you do that either. Mm-hmm. It's not the way it works. And that is what has to change. Now, I'm not saying we want either extremes, but what I am saying is the way the country is structured is the way that Trump campaigned. And that's why, like regarding what Alex Jones just said, he lost 6-7 points, because that's what people expected of him. I'm going to break the back of the swamp. Well, Trump, you're showing signs that you're a part of it. And anyone who has eyes to see and is thinking clearly and soberly can see it. And that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene just resigned. Because she's basically like, what am I doing here? I can't be who I want to be in this seat, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to play the game.
She's going to be more powerful, I think.
100%. She'll probably become a talking head, or she'll get some type of job, and hopefully she's not a lobbyist. That's all I hope.
Well, that's the thing. She's not a stupid woman. Hey, look, it's like, what was the best thing that ever happened to Tucker Carlson? He got fired from Fox.
100%.
He has much, much, much more of an influence.
100%.
And a free platform, excuse me, and what I mean by free is that he's free to say what he wants. And he's pissing off a lot of people on the right, and he doesn't care. He's hated by the left. He really doesn't care. He has become a much more significant force for good in America after getting fired from Fox. So Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning, she has a nationally recognized name. She will get out there. Donald Trump attacked her and she's resigning. She's going to become Trump's worst nightmare.
She could very well become.
And he needs that. So you said he's showing signs that he's part of the swamp. He's morphing into the creature from the Black Lagoon. Okay? It's like I can't distinguish him anymore between the left and those within the system that you were describing, and Nick Fuentes was describing the system that Mike Johnson is talking about. Trump is indistinguishable now. It started with Doge and backing off from that. it went moved forward from there to the big, ugly, disastrous bill. Okay, bombing Iran because Netanyahu wants you to. These are not things we voted for. And then when we open our mouth, he calls us stupid. He says we're not part of MAGA. Mr. Trump, you're not part of MAGA. Now, here's where I want to go. If he doesn't do anything about this, Trump's good with words and tweets and things like that. If he doesn't take action, if he doesn't direct Pam Bondi to take action against these people we're about to show you, then he has no spine whatsoever. He has no balls whatsoever.
Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Every single one of those people needs to be in an orange jumpsuit. You are undermining the authority of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States. You didn't say at one point in that video, not one, Joe, did they say what those illegal orders were.
Well, I'll tell you what they are. It's the threat is to them. It's like the same rhetoric that went on when Trump was campaigning. He's a threat to democracy. No, he isn't. He's a threat to you. That's what that's about. And to your point, that's where we are ridiculous. They should be arrested.
Every one of them.
Arrest them and then get a lawyer like everybody else and explain what you meant by what you just said.
Exactly right. You need to explain instead of doing that clip. And by the way, Joe, did anybody bother to catch the fact that Slotkin said former CIA officer? Right. You and Kelly and the rest of you, you're all part of the deep state. Every one of you. What is that supposed to? Does it really mean anything to me as an American citizen when somebody says they're ex-CIA? I say, oh, you're a spook? You're part of the deep state? You're part of everything that organization has done since the end of the Second World War to undermine my freedom, to take away my rights, to sell out our country to foreign and globalist interests. You really think that you have credibility, Ms. Slotkin, because you're saying you're former CIA? You're the enemy, as far as I'm concerned. It's not impressive to me when you say that. And the people like who we have in our families, our in-laws, who actually served in the military, okay? Those are people that would watch that video and say, what are you talking about? What you're doing right now is illegal. Not Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't tell me to commit a crime, to obey an illegal or immoral order. You are. Because
that's
what
it
you're doing
and that's
is
the rhetoric. That's the key, because people buy into that. They buy into that. It's a threat to them, Joe. Nothing more, nothing less. Donald Trump is basically trying. He's not taking it further. He needs to take it much further. He is trying to a certain point to undermine what they have done for decades. For decades. This is not new. And that's why, to be honest with you, it will take literally a revolution. Our country, power is never given. And the revolution's coming. I'm telling you this, and I'm going to tell you how it's going to come. I don't think it's going to work in our favor because I believe the under 40 demographic, which has become completely disenfranchised in America, they get nothing out of their college degree. Many of them are saddled with debt, and they're going to become radicalized. And they are going to vote somebody in with a large majority that is going to make Donald Trump look like Little Bo Peep. I'm telling you this right now, that's coming, because these people don't own anything. They're not going to get the jobs that they thought that they were going to get, and they're in debt. And it's a huge demographic. I'm telling you that Charlie Kirk warned about this, actually. You could hear it out of his own mouth. This is not an original thought. To back up what I just said, Forbes came out with an article this week, Forbes magazine. 2024, 41% of American college graduates got jobs in their major of choice. 2025, that went down 11%, only 30. That's all colleges, by the way. That's every college. 7 out of 10 college graduates in 2025 got jobs in their career choice. So that means if you studied accounting, you don't have a job in accounting. You're working at Hertz. And that is a disenfranchised person who bought into a lie. And they went, because most of those people, not all, because some people have come from rich families and their parents pay the whole lot, but a large swath of those people, 7 out of 10, are in debt.
Right.
What do you think they're going to do? These are not dumb people, by the way, Joe. These aren't people with no teeth and friggin' basically living in like the hills of, wherever. These are smart people, and they are going to get radicalized. The French Revolution was not performed or led by the lower classes. It was led by the bourgeoisie. It was led by the educated classes. These are educated, smart people who can't get a job. That means they're not going to get married. That means they're never going to own a house. That they're not going to have children. That's going to impact our country.
But isn't that by design?
To be honest with you, to a degree, I think to a degree, some of the very nefarious people who are trying to undermine the country, and they exist, but to a larger degree, the Republicans are part of that too, particularly the Chamber of Commerce Republican. Their response to that kid, because I've heard it at work. Oh, you got to pick yourself up off your bootstraps, son. You can make it happen. I made it happen. Get off that couch. No, dude. Sorry. The job doesn't exist anymore. AI just eliminated that job. It's gone. That kid, it's not about lazy. It's about the job doesn't exist. It's about the cost of the house is so high, and add on, you owe 300 more K from your loan. That means he's done. You're done.
Listen, I like to tell that guy, listen, dude, there ain't no boot. And there ain't no strap.
That's right. But they think in their head, they actually will still say that, because you know what it is, Joe? I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. That Chamber of Commerce guy does not want to give an inch. He does not want to give an inch when it comes to basic corporatism, which dominates America, which has people under their thumb. Won't give them benefits, doesn't give them a pension, all to boost the Dow. They won't give an inch.
Right.
And meanwhile, you're okay. Just to be honest with you, I'm okay. Like me, personally, I'm 55. I own my house. How about my kids, though? Do you care about that? Are you thinking about that? How about the country? 2 decades. Oh, I'll be dead. Well, then you're just selfish. Then I don't know what else to say. You're not thinking clearly.
But we can't be afraid. We can't be afraid to tell those people, well, then you're selfish. If you're not thinking about your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, you're a selfish person. I am trying to raise my son. I'm trying to leave him something that he could build on, okay? So then that's going to pass down through generations, okay? I don't live my life, and I'm a selfish guy. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm holier than anybody, because I'm not, okay? But here's my point, though. But I know the difference between being completely selfish and putting the needs of my wife and my son first and posterity, like you're describing, Joe. Okay, so the goal is and is always all right. This decision that I'm making on something financial, let's say, who's it benefiting, me or is it benefiting my wife and son? If it's not benefiting my wife and son first and foremost, then I'm probably making the wrong decision. But as to your point, there's a lot. Well, my kids are going to learn how to fend for themselves. There's nothing to fend.
But that's what I'm saying.
We said this on our show the other day. And any system, I don't care what, a government system, economic system, financial system, if the system is not serving the people, then it is a flawed system. Any system that we create as human beings has to serve the people. Once the people become servants to the system and slaves to the system, got to start over. Got to blow it up, take what's good out of the remains, use that in the foundation for the new system, and discard the rest.
Well, eventually that's going to happen organically because like I told you, Joe, those people are going to get radicalized. They're going to get radicalized because there are people, someone put in the chat, the youth don't care. There are some that don't care. I would agree with that. That's not the majority. I got neighbors, 2 people, college graduates, parents, solidly middle class. They're not using their degree. One went to a very good college too, by the way. So this is my point. And they're trying. They just can't make it happen.
Right.
25, 30 years ago, both those kids would be on their way.
Right.
This is reality. And not looking reality in the face always has consequences. That's what America is refusing to do. The cost of a house in the last 5 years as a result of the COVID economic debacle went up like $150,000. The average home price in America is over $400K. That's taking into account the whole country.
Right.
There is no way someone who works in South Carolina and is a normal employee, a regular worker, can afford a $400,000 house. Just so you know.
Right.
Not happening.
And that's it. And that's if they even, have as their diet ramen noodles.
But that's what I'm saying. So basically this is the state of America. And not thinking in this broader way is, frankly, if you ask me, not going to benefit you either, because when the radicalized population comes, it is going to impact you. And to be honest with you, historically speaking, I'll give you an example of Brazil. Brazil has basically rich and poor people. There was a time when a very, very radical left president came. If you had any more than $100,000 in your bank account, it was seized. They took it.
Right.
That's what could happen. Or they could say your inheritance tax, they pass a law, 60% of it goes to the country. This is what could happen. This is what I'm saying. And these Chamber of Commerce Republicans, they can't get it through their head. You're either going to give some now or it's all going to get taken.
Well, that's the thing. The Elizabeth Warrens of the world, and forget about her. She's an old crusty leftist, and so is Bernie Sanders, and they're on their way out. When you look at the AOCs of the world, when you look at the Mamdanis of the world, when you look at the Ayanna Presleys of the world, when you look at the Jasmine Crockett's, now I'm not even going to give them. I'm not even going to say they're intelligent, because I don't believe they're intelligent at all. Oh, there I go being racist again. I can hear somebody saying that because they're all women of color, or I don't know what Mamdani is, but anyway. My point is,
and Elizabeth Warren's an Indian,
right? And Elizabeth Warren, she
is an Indian.
She's an Indian, so we have to watch what we say about her. But my larger point is that these people will go Roman on you. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Okay, so when let's say, for argument's sake, so Augustus is not yet in power and he's teaming up with Antony, and what's the first thing they got to do? They need money, right? They got to fight against Brutus and Cassius. They need some money. So what do? They draw up what's called a proscription list, okay? And the proscription list has on it a number of a very rather large list of wealthy and influential people, mostly wealthy, in Rome. And you know what they did? They killed them, and they took their money, okay? Now, money's not like it is now where you got it in the bank. You probably got a stash underneath your thing where you got your gold buried, okay? Or you own that piece of land or that piece of land, and they just went in there and they took it. You really think that when you talk about radicalizing America and these young kids, you think that they don't have God? They don't have any moral boundaries.
Oh,
I'm sorry how
Joe.
that sounds. It's true. They'll kill you in a second,
Well,
Mr. Chamber of Commerce.
I mean, that's an
conservative Republican.
extreme case, but they could do it just by law. They could kill you financially by the law.
They did it in Canada, and they didn't do it to rich people. They did it to truckers.
So this is what I'm saying, and that's what you're going to get. Charlie Kirk warns you. It's not just me. He warned you. This is what this population exists in America. The system is not working for them. They bought, and here's the thing. See, the advantage I have, my kids are younger and I have my eyes open. So we're not going to go down that road. We're going to look at alternatives. You have to be smart about certain jobs because certain jobs aren't even going to be there in 10 years. They're not even going to be there, period. They're gone. So this is what I'm saying. You have to think like what's going to be here? Maybe a special education teacher. That's going to be here because all our kids are going to be screwed up.
Right.
Nurses, that's going to be here. You got to start thinking like that. Occupational therapists, physical therapists.
Listen to this. Listen to this.
Sure. Well, if you say like in the long term, where will things end up? Long term, I don't know what long term is. Maybe it's 10, 20 years, something like that. For me, that's long term. My prediction is that work will be optional.
Optional.
Optional. So
we'll take that.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be like playing sports or a video game or something like that. If you want to work, in the same way, like you can go to the store and just buy some vegetables, or you could grow vegetables in your backyard. It's much harder to grow vegetables in your backyard, but some people still do it because they like growing vegetables. That will be what work is like, optional. Now, between now and then, there's actually a lot of work to get to that point. And I always recommend people read Ian Banks' culture books to get a sense for what a probable positive AI future is like. And interestingly, in those books, money is doesn't exist. It's kind of interesting. And my guess is, if you go out long enough, assuming there's a continued improvement in AI and robotics, which seems likely, the money will stop being relevant at some point in the future. Now, there will still be constraints on power, like electricity and mass. The fundamental physics elements will still be constraints, but I think at some point currency becomes irrelevant.
I quite frankly, I watched that when you sent it, okay? And
that's a recent video, by the way. That's not old.
No, I know. He's got Jensen Huang from NVIDIA sitting right next to him, the largest company in the world, just past a $4.5 trillion market capitalization, which is ridiculous. That's a different story. I don't know where he's going. I'm listening to what he's saying, and I have you know me, Joe, I have an opinion on everything, all right? I have a hard time formulating an opinion, but here's the reason why I think. He's not giving us enough information there. He's painting this picture of the future where we don't have to work. Okay, now I would love at 58 years old to not have to work anymore. So, but that's me personally after having worked since I was 11.
Joe, that's
work
not
is
what
necessary.
He's saying. He's talking about universal income. He's basically saying
that's my point. But that real quick, Joe, but that's my point. He didn't use the words universal income because he said currency is going to become irrelevant. So what are we talking about, Elon?
Well,
how
basically, you're a slave. Basically, why did that guy say, well, that works for us? Of course it works for the people that control everything, because basically you have a population then that is completely dependent on you. It's 21st century feudalism. That's all that is. It basically is, listen, I'm going to give you what you need to exist, subexist. Basic food, basic shelter, like what you see in like communist Russia. You live in like blocks, these high-rise apartments. You get like your little pod and you and your family live in it, and it doesn't cost any money because it's free. The government gives it to you, and they give you a stipend, which gives you certain amounts of food, which will create a black market, which always happens, and there will be organized crime because that's what always happens when that type of system cap goes on. But That's what he's leaning to. He's basically saying the jobs are not going to be around. And unless you're a super engineer, you're not going to have one. Right. So, yeah, you could work if you want. But to be honest with you, maybe that'll give you a little bit more money, a little bit more. But ultimately, those type of jobs are going to be few and far between. We're going to give you what you need to survive. And that's how the society is going to roll. Because basically, there's no more need for you. You're not needed. Like, let's be honest. We'll use truckers for an example. Teamsters are needed. Why? They have to ship the goods. Somebody makes something and they subcontract that task out to a man to get in a truck and drive oranges to Missouri. They go from Florida to Missouri. They don't get there magically. A man does that. Well, if you take out 17% of the population, which is high school graduate men that drive for a living, what is that man supposed to do? But then there's other segments of the society, the economic cycle, the part of the populace that work, that those jobs completely disappear. What's he supposed to do now? Why do they even give you something in the first place? Because they don't want to ferment revolution. So you have to give them a crumb so they don't come for your throat. So you put them in a pod. You give them a little food stipend, and you're a slave. And by the way, if you step out of line in your pod, you do something that I don't like because I own you, because I give you your pod and I give you your food stipend, I'm going to take it away from you.
Right.
That's how I control you. You're not free. You're a slave. And any person who clapped in that audience who isn't an oligarch is either not paying attention or, frankly, I don't want to insult them.
I'll tell you this.
To embrace such a life is slavery.
You listen, you are, I don't care how judgmental this sounds. If you want that for your life, then you are a slave, and you are the emptiest of human beings. That means you really do then believe that there's no meaning and purpose to your life. As we always say, go read Aldous Huxley, go read Brave New World. You will get your soma. They'll provide you that the same way that the Soviets made sure that in your box of goods that you got at the end of the week, there was plenty of vodka in there. You won't realize you're a slave because we're going to stupefy you. So in Brave New World, it was the soma. In America, it's going to be, we're going to give you all the sex and drugs you want. Don't worry about it. There is no pain in life. And whatever pain there is, we can alleviate that with the drugs and the booze and the sex. Just do that. Don't worry. If you get pregnant, don't worry. Just go down to the thing and we'll take care of the thing. That's what we're going to do. Don't worry. But you are a slave. And if you buy into that, and Joe, I've met people in my life who actually think that those things are really good ideas, you are the emptiest of people. And by the way, I'm going to make an announcement here at the front line with Joe and Joe. I think Tucker has been secretly watching Joe and Joe.
A little fewer than 1 million lawyers in the United States, and a lot of them are just SOL. You can displace farm workers. What are they going to do about it? You can displace factory workers. They'll just kill themselves with drugs and fast food, which they have done. And you'll feel sort of guilty, but then ignore it. If you do that to lawyers and nonprofit sector employees who I lived around in D.C., you will get a revolution. And I mean that. I'm dead serious. Where did Pol Pot come from? There's never been a revolution that wasn't fomented by frustrated members of the sort of insurgent class.
Yeah, exactly.
It's totally true. Sub-aristocrat, but the striving class, the most repulsive people there are, I think it's fair to say, but also the most intent on getting what they want. And if you put them out of business, I mean, I'm not joking at all. I think
we're seeing this,
could get unstable.
We're seeing this already, and one could argue that the Mamdani election surge may be the result of young people coming out of colleges that were in that exact same situation.
Striving elite. And they don't have an on-ramp.
And they were told that if they take on $400,000 of debt, they'll end up making a good living and progressing in life, buying a home, and all of that turned out to not be true.
Notice this, though. Notice he look at body language. These are elites. These are like Menlo Park oligarchs, super engineers that he's talking to right there. He folds his arms. You know why? Because they're coming after you, dude. You see, that's the revolution he's talking about. They're not coming after me. They're coming after you because you robbed them of a life. You see, this is what the Chamber of Commerce Republicans don't get. You're not, many of those people who vote along that like path, part of the club. Your life's gone too. It's gone. Even if you're a lawyer. Last night, I was talking to a friend of mine from high school. He's a lawyer. He's a little older than me. He's about to retire. He was telling me how basically AI is basically going to put a lot of lawyers out of work with regard to how the briefs are written. Like all the research that's done for a case is going to be done for you. So
that's why I said Tucker's been watching Joe and Joe, because we said a million times, if you think you're a lawyer or a doctor and AI is not going to put you out of work, well, then you're smoking crack, because you're going to be obsolete also.
The sick part is there's people in their 50s who may, like me, they own their house, you know, they're quote unquote established lawyers, people who have MBAs, who are not in that elite class, striving elite class. That's me. That's me. And that's my peer group that I went to high school with. That's your peer group that you went to high school with. That class is done. He's telling you that. He did. Not me, not Crazy Joe. This is people. And by the way, that panel are billionaires. These are not dumb people. These are not conspiracy people. And they're the people that are building the AI. So when you get those people, that's what I'm talking about, a radicalized demographic. It's not a couple of people. It could turn out to be 68% of the vote. 68%. That could throw that grenade into the system. That they may not cut the throat of those people on the stage like when the guillotine came out in the French Revolution, but they can enact laws that will gut the population that has anything. So if you have your house, they basically say, guess what? You're not allowed to pass it on to your kid. And if you do, there's a 45% tax on top of that.
You're being generous.
Value.
You're being generous.
If you sell it, there's a 60% tax. They can pass a law because now they have the majority. And I am not I'm not exaggerating.
Why would anybody think that you're everything?
No, but people think like, oh, you're crazy. You're just talking. When you get a person, a lot of people who are shortchanged, do you think they're going to have any mercy on anyone else who has anything? Because in their mind, they think that those people robbed them of their dream. Meanwhile, they've been living in a basement for 12, 13 years, working at DoorDash with a degree in economics from Seton Hall University.
Joe,
you think he's going to have any mercy on you?
That's I want to pick up on that. Okay. Because remember something, if they have the type of power to do the things that you're describing, I think it's a reasonable assumption that what they're also going to have is they're going to have power over the media and the culture.
Of course,
where am I going with this? All they have to do with all the disenfranchised people that you were talking about, and Tucker Carlson was talking about, the other gentleman was talking about, all those people is do what Stalin did. Stalin pointed to the enemies of the revolution, and using 20th century technology, now you have the internet, if you have that kind of power, like we said, you'll control the media. All they got to say is, you see these people, you see how ill they are, how mentally ill they are, that they don't agree with the revolution. They need our help. Okay. And then they sent them to Siberia. In other words, to help them. Communist China, re-education camps. Cambodia, if you watch the movie The Killing Fields, they had re-education camps. You're either going to get on board with the program by getting re-educated, meaning you're going to have to, through a lot of pain, they're going to change your mind, okay? Or you're going to die.
Well, what they'll do is, I don't even think they have to, they could do it simply by the click of a button. I cut off your money. Your digital ID, which allows you to travel. You can't get on a plane without a digital ID. You can't access your email without a digital ID. You can't access your bank account, meaning like if you want a checking account in America, you have to have a digital ID. Right. So basically, that's how they control you. So basically, I don't have to come and arrest you. I could silently control you, based on the fact that you're not going to access your cash. which means you starve to death. And there's no 1-800 number to help you.
That's right.
It's gone. Your money doesn't exist. So you will not do these things. I don't have to yell. I don't have to come for you. We don't have to spend money on a camp. I basically cut you off from reality. You can't have a bank account. You can't get an apartment. You can't access your checking account. You can't access email. You can't access your currency. All by me just pressing a button.
That's it.
I don't have to yell. I don't have to get a camp. I don't need the police to come. You're done. And that is exactly what the social credit system is in China. Joe, you're talking. No, I'm not.
No, it's happening right now.
That's going on. And that's what they want here. Justin Trudeau, a lot of Canadian people in the chat right now. Justin Trudeau said this indirectly in his rhetoric. China has a good way of handling this type of situation. Don't quote me exactly, but he alluded to how China works. They manage their people like that. Why do people get managed in the corporate arena? Why are we forced to basically work as drones in the corporate arena? It's financial terrorism. If you don't do X, Y, and Z, you're fired. You're fired. So you're going to do what I tell you to do because you have to eat. It's the same mentality. You're not going to have Joe and Joe. You're not going to vote a certain way. You're not going to buy certain things. Because if I see that you did on your data, which we monitor through algorithms, you're cut off.
Right.
And that's the game. It's over. Party's over. Get back in your pod.
That's it. Go back in your pod, and here's your vodka, and here's your porn, and here's your drugs. Just go back in there and remember, there is no meaning and purpose to life. We're going to make you feel good. And then when the time comes for you to drop dead, drop dead. I'm hoping, obviously, that what's going on in America, what's going on social media, much more reasonable, fair-minded. I'm not even going to say conservative. We're not even sometimes necessarily Christian. But people who identify everything that's going on are going to be a proper force to check those under 40s that could foment this revolution. But here's one thing, is that when people say that things are not doable, I want to play this for them.
State now has millions of more residents than New York State does, and yet New York State's budget is more than twice the size of the budget of the state of Florida. Their roads aren't better than ours. Their education's not better than ours. Their services aren't better than ours. I certainly wouldn't want to go to the DMV, in New York, especially when Mandami gets in. It's interesting. New York City has 8 million people, and this is even before Mandami takes over the grocery stores. Their budget's bigger than Florida's budget with 23.5 million people. And so we're able to do that at half the cost, and yet major initiatives for infrastructure acceleration, environmental restoration, education, you name it, we've done it. Debt. Take all the debt that Florida's had for 180 years. Just since I've been governor, we've retired half of it on my watch. And we now have the lowest per capita debt of any place in the United States, AAA credit rating, all that, of course.
Now, my larger point, and I'm glad you sent that clip, my larger point is that if you have the will to do something, okay, Florida is not a backwater, okay? Florida is a major force in America. Lots and lots of money down in Florida, okay? Lots of people have moved there. Now, they're primarily service industries, financial, hospitality, things like that, okay? But nonetheless, Florida is a very, very pleasant place to be, aside from the fact that, the climate's really nice too. But with a guy like DeSantis, I was most impressed out of everything that he said was 180 years worth of Florida's debt he cut in half since the time he's been governor. When people say that you can't do it, I say, no, you just don't want to screw your buddies who have this system in place, this system of usury and debt that we have. They don't want you. Joe, let me ask you, I'm going to shut up after I throw this over to you. You go out and borrow $1,000 on the street from Shylock, okay? And you got to pay him $30 a week. Got to pay him $30 a week until you pay him back the $1,000. Do you think he ever wants you to pay him back the $1,000? He wants you to pay $30 a week for the next 50 years. He wants you to never pay him back the $1,000, but you will keep paying him $30 a week. That's how the banks operate. That's how now on a national level and on a global level, the whole international debt system operates. The last thing they want is a guy like DeSantis, or dare I say, a president with a Congress and a Senate, a House and a Senate, that actually come in and do what Ron DeSantis has done on the debt front, but do it nationally. That's one of the biggest things we mentioned earlier about public funding of campaigns. We have to embark on a real system of starting to pay down the principal on our national debt. I'll throw it over to you.
What I would say is it shows that a clear thinking, common sense approach can work for the people. However, I don't know if what he tried to do in a state would translate on a national level. I think there's a lot more barriers in place that would have to get torn down. That's what I voted for with Donald Trump, and he didn't do it. Will the next president have the political will to do that? Because I'm going to tell you right now, they would come at that person in a way that will make how they came at Donald Trump look like nothing. I actually think they would kill that person. They're not having that. To be honest with you, there's a lot of voices out there right now that are challenging powerful people in a major way. This week, Nick Fuentes, his name came up on the Senate floor. They tried to pass a bill to stop him. Why would they do that? Because he is a threat to powerful people. If you're not basically a threat, they'll just let you exist. You talk into the ether. To a degree, that's kind of what we do. We do exist. We have our little fiefdom. We have our little influence circle, but it's not threatening the powers that be. But when you really threaten the powers that be, and to your point, Joe, if they tried that on a national level, look what they did to Charlie Kirk. He was killed. They tried to kill Donald Trump right before he was named the candidate. That was the week before. That wasn't a coincidence. That was their last shot, quote unquote.
Literally.
And it came an inch away.
Right.
So this is what I'm saying. We are up against powerful forces. And here's the deal. What he accomplished in Florida shows life can improve for regular people. So it begs the question, why doesn't it? Because you don't matter. You don't matter. Why isn't every governor doing that? You could ask that question. Whereas where my life improves, because you don't matter. I'm part of a larger ideology, a larger vision, like what's going on in Canada, who's embraced globalism. And you're sort of a secondary thing that I have to just give you enough crumbs to convince you that I'm on your side, and that's the art of politics. And then basically what I do is say, see what's in this hand? And then the other hand, I rob you from your back pocket. Right. And that is the question. Why isn't everybody doing that? And here's another question. Why aren't other people seeing it and asking these questions? We just accept it, Joe. This is the thing that kills me as people. All this goes on and we just accept it like sheep. And the only people that are hurt are our kids.
Right.
And we somehow convince ourselves that it's going to get better, or this one is going to fix it, or that one is going to fix it. It's going to be better now or then, or this idea. Meanwhile, the system itself isn't geared for you. It's gotten out of control. It has grown too big. You could actually benchmark the growth of the federal government in the last 100 years, starting with the Great Depression. It's grown exponentially large from that's just in 100 years.
Right.
Out of control. And to rear that back, which Donald Trump campaigned upon, would take, Joe, it would take a revolution. It literally would. But here's the deal, which we just talked about, and I'm kind of it's coming. Because people are going to get radicalized and they're going to vote in the revolution.
But here's the thing. Aren't we, to a degree, you and I and many people, let's call ourselves on the right, aren't we radicalized? I'm radicalized.
Oh, I am, Joe. I don't believe in our country anymore because I don't want what it is.
See the non-radical. See the leftist radical wants to wreck the system for their reasons. I want to wreck the system along with you and Nick Fuentes and Thomas Massey for our reasons. There is going to be a clash at some point. I'm not going to let the leftist radical. I don't want this system to stay in place, but I'm not going to let the leftist radicals come in and implement their system, and they're going to fight against us when we want to implement ours. Like you said, and you're talking about, let's say, for argument's sake, international debt. Okay, the debt that's owed from one nation to another. The amount of debt that the United States has, the amount of debt, Japan's been in the news over the last couple of weeks. Japan is in not good shape at all as far as their debt is concerned. My point is that these people are not going to go down without a fight. You want to know why? Joe, you imagine the Shylock I mentioned earlier. Okay, if he lends out $1,000 to 100 guys on the street and getting the $30 a week from those guys, he's making $3,000 a week, and he still owed $100,000. Okay. Now you take that and you multiply that by trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. This is compound interest that all debt is nowadays, all compound interest. That means that when you get to a certain point, when we get to 50 trillion in debt, it becomes unpayable. But nobody's going to let that go down without a fight because they're not making a few dollars on. They're not Big John in Newark, standing on a corner making a few or hanging out in a club making a few dollars off a shy business. Okay. We're talking about people who own most of the world's wealth, and they do it through debt primarily. There's other ways they do it. Primarily, they used to want to enslave people, okay, through debt. Now they enslave governments.
Well, what
debt.
I
they've
think
been
is
doing
gonna
that,
happen,
Joe. They've been doing that for centuries.
The oligarchs are going to look to save their own hide, and what they're going to do is they're going to pit those who have in this country against those who don't. And they're going to make those who have, this is not them, this is basically the upper middle class to the upper class. And they're going to basically allow them to get gutted. In the meantime, the very top layer will not be touched. That's way down the road. They are going to gut the people in this country who have. They're going to have them on their back throw the bone to the person who has nothing. And they're going to use the media to do that. And that's what AOC is. She's a talking head for that. That's what Bernie Sanders is. That's what Elizabeth Warren is. They're funded to do just what I'm saying. But meanwhile, the people who fund them, they're untouchable. They're untouchable. And they're the ones who are basically the puppet master to this whole entire network and this game. They control the media. They control the politicians. Meanwhile, they go on living well. Their kids live well. They live behind gates. That's how South America operates. South America operates. You're seeing right now a potential revolution in Mexico. Why? Because they're saying that the president of Mexico is basically in bed with the cartels. Of course she is. They get her votes. She needs their support. Mexico's a failed state. It's a corrupt nation. She's in bed with them, and people now know it. So the very people that are basically robbing you and extorting you, the government to a degree lets them do it because they control you for them. That's what they're going to do here. It's just not going to look the same way. To a degree, they already do that through the press, through the oligarchs. It's just going to have to get ramped up because you have to throw that 32-year-old kid who's in debt, who can't get a job, a bone. What's the bone? The bone is I'm going to tax the living daylights out of you because you actually paid for your house. Because the system actually worked for you. So I'm going to take from you to give to him so I am safe. That is what's going to happen in America.
Well, let's hope it does it. We're going to wrap it up here at the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, Joe Resinello, another great, and Joe and I, we think these are important conversations to have. We have to raise our voices. I don't care if we have 10 people watching us or 10,000. The fact is, we're going to keep doing this because we're part of the whole resistance. And it is a resistance. It's resisting the right and the left and the oligarchs and the globalists and everybody else who's seeking to enslave you. We don't want people to be enslaved. All right. We want a prosperous country. We want people to work, Elon. Okay. People need work. All right. Or else they'll go bat, you know what, crazy, being at home all day. But anyway, we want to thank you all. We're going to leave you with a quick clip. Remember that we post all of our videos on X, Facebook, and YouTube. We got some shorts up there. Wherever you're seeing Joe and I, help us out. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. We'll be going live on Sundays, sometime Sunday, or sometime during the day on Sundays, generally. We'll try to give you a heads up. But thank you once again. We'll see you next week. And remember, until the next time, that our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation is going on everywhere. We'll talk to you soon.
What's happened is the welfare state has gradually grown out of control, and it's broken personal responsibility, and it's broken the will for people to do their own thing. And that has now reached, I think, a tipping point that we either have a counter-revolution, and I think we have to be thinking in those terms in a peaceful context, and we realize just how far our liberty has been eroded, or we are entering really quite a dark period where the state will dictate virtually every aspect of our lives, and our scope for action will be really quite limited.